Hello everyone, today we're going to look at horizontal, vertical, parallel, and perpendicular lines. We're going to start with horizontal and vertical first, because we've already talked about them a little bit. So remember that horizontal lines have a zero slope, and if we put this into slope-intercept form, we get y equals 0x plus b, which simplifies just to b. So a horizontal line looks like y equals b. And we've talked about what horizontal lines look like. There's no rise, there's only a run. So we're just going from left to right. And then, for instance, y equals 2, my horizontal line is up 2 from the x-axis. Y equals -3 is down 3 from the x-axis. Okay. Vertical lines have no or undefined slope. So we can't write them using slope-intercept or point-slope form because they don't have a slope. So the only way we can write it is in that general form. And remember, the general form looks like this. And we can simplify it a lot, though, if it's a vertical line. A vertical line looks like just x equals a. So just like the b in slope-intercept form is not the same b in general form, the a here is not the same a in the general form. We just use b for the y-intercept and a for the x-intercept. So x equals a is a vertical line, y equals b is a horizontal line. So for x equals 4, we're going to move over 4 to the right and draw a vertical line. X equals -1, we're going to go 1 to the left and draw a vertical line. Notice that at any point on here, x is -1. Y can be anything. It goes from -infinity all the way up to infinity, but x is always -1. Okay. So the tricky part here is to remember which one is which, but once you remember it, it's really easy to draw them. Parallel lines are two lines that never intersect. What that means is that they have the same slope. So here's an example of y equals 2x plus 2 and y equals 2x minus 3. They have the same slope, which is 2, and if you look at the pictures, they're never going to intersect, no matter where on this graph I look. If I look towards x being 200 or 800 or 1,000,000, or x being -9, -20,000, -200 billion, those two lines will never ever intersect. Perpendicular lines intersect at a 90-degree angle. This means that their slopes are negative reciprocals of each other. So remember, reciprocal means I'm going to flip it. So if I had something like 1/5 and 5, those are reciprocals. 2/3 and 3/2, those are reciprocals. But then it's also a negative reciprocal. So one has to be positive, one has to be negative. So 1/5 and -5. -2/3 and 3/2. Those are negative reciprocals of each other. So for example, we have y equals 3x plus 3 and y equals -1/3 x minus 2. So one slope is 3. The negative reciprocal of that is -1/3. And I have this little black box here indicating that they do intersect at a right angle. It is 90 degrees. Okay, so that's what they look like graphically. What we're going to do is we're going to see what it looks like algebraically. So determine if the following pairs of lines are parallel, perpendicular, or neither. If they intersect at something other than a 90-degree angle, they're neither parallel nor perpendicular. So we're going to be given two equations. For the first one, y equals 4x minus 2, and the second one, y equals -4x minus 3. So what we want to do is we want to look at their slopes. And if their slopes are the same, then they're parallel. If the slopes are negative reciprocals of each other, then they're perpendicular. If neither are true, then they're neither parallel nor perpendicular. So we look at the slopes. The slope of the first one is 4, because notice that we're in y equals mx plus b form. So the slope is just the coefficient of x, so 4. The same is true for the second one. It's in slope-intercept form. So the slope is negative 4. So we ask ourselves, is 4 equal to negative 4? Hopefully we can agree that that is a resounding no. They're not equal. The next question is, are they negative reciprocals of each other? They are negatives of each other. One's positive, one's negative, but they're not reciprocals of each other. 4 is not the reciprocal of 4. So they are neither parallel nor perpendicular. How about y equals 2/3 x and y equals negative 3/2 x plus 4? Again, they're both in slope-intercept form, so I can pull out their slopes right away. It's just the coefficient of x. So m is 2/3 in the first one, and m is negative 3/2 in the second one. So again, we ask ourselves, are 2/3 and negative 3/2 equal? No. Are they negative reciprocals of each other? Yes. If I flip 2/3, I get 3/2. One of them is negative, one of them is positive. So they are perpendicular. Negative 6x plus 4y equals negative 3, and 3x minus 2y equals 4. These two lines are both in general form, and in order to find their slopes, we're going to put them into slope-intercept form. And what that means is we're going to solve for y. So in my first one, I'm going to bring the 6x over and get 4y equals 6x minus 3, and then divide everything by 4. Now remember, all I care about is the slope, so I don't care about the y-intercept. All I want to know is what is this coefficient of x. So it's 6/4, and then we should simplify it. So we get 3/2. We're going to do the same thing for the second one. We're going to subtract 3x from both sides. Oops. And get back to my pen. Subtract 3x. Divide everything by negative 2. And again, all I care about is the slope, which is the coefficient of x. So negative 3 over negative 2, which we simplify, cancel the negatives, and we get 3/2. So we look at our 3/2 and 3/2 and tell ourselves those are the same, so they're equal, which means that our lines are parallel. For our last example, we have y equals x plus 7 and 5x plus 5y equals 2. So our first equation is in slope-intercept form. So again, our slope is the coefficient of x, and if you don't see a coefficient, remember that means that it's 1. So the slope of y equals x plus 7 is 1. Our second equation is in the general form, so just like in example C, we're going to solve for y. So we're going to subtract 5x from both sides, divide everything by 5, and again we care about that coefficient of x. So negative 5/5 is negative 1. So again we ask ourselves, are 1 and negative 1 equal? No. Are they negative reciprocals of each other? Yes. Remember that 1 is its own reciprocal. 1 is 1/1, and if I flip it, I still get 1/1. So 1 and negative 1 are the only numbers that are their own reciprocals. So in this case, the two lines are perpendicular. Okay, so make sure that you can remember the difference between parallel and perpendicular, both graphically and what it means in regards to their slope. And then make sure you remember the difference between vertical lines and horizontal lines. So horizontal lines are y equals a number, vertical lines are x equals a number. Okay, so make sure you read through the book, make sure you try out the homework, and let me know if you have any questions. Thanks.